Welcome to a new video here on the Giant Take Podcast YouTube channel. I'm Josh, and I am joined by my co-host Alex here on the Giant Take YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be continuing the series talking about our top players in the NFL draft at their respective positions leading up to the 2022 NFL draft. This week, we promise an RB running back video coming a little later in the week. We apologize. A lot of stuff has been going on. So we're here, though, okay? We're here. We're going to talk about the top running backs, and we don't know where we're going to go from here. You know, you think, oh, they're going QB, running back, wide receiver is going to be next, right? We don't know. I think the last two videos have more been like NFL draft content, but we kind of want to transition that to New York Giants content because this is a New York Giants podcast. So I think we're going to change this to more what really do the Giants need? What is their needs? And their needs are O-line, cornerbacks, safeties, edge, linebackers, right? So I think those will probably be priority. We hope by the NFL draft at the end of April, that all of the positions will be covered. But in the order that they're covered in, I think that's going to change to more the Giants' needs than what we're doing right now, which is like how positions are listed in a depth chart. Anyway, Alex, how are you?
I'm doing well. And, certainly the Giants may need to take a running back. Probably not one of these maybe top three guys in the list. But the first guy we're getting to might be an option in the third, fourth round. And I'm excited to see what the Giants do in terms of the running back position. And it's a very interesting position this year. You've kind of got some players who don't really have a lot of mileage, but certainly have shown flashes when they have been on the field. And then you've got some of the more reliable guys that have been doing it for years as well. So an interesting combination of guys here in this 2022 running back draft class.
Something else that I should have mentioned in the intro that I'll mention now is based on whatever positions we do every week, that matters to our top whatever number. So it's not going to be like the top three or the top five every week. It depends on how many good players there are at that respective position. So QB, there were top six. In running backs, there's top four. So it's going to vary by week. Anyway, let's go to our first. We have an honorable mention this week. We're going crazy. We're going insane. It's going to be Dameon Pierce from Florida. He's a senior, 5'10", 220 pounds. The reason we wanted to put him on this list, he had a very impressive Senior Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama. So we thought, why not? Let's put him on this list. Could very well be running back number 5, slotting him in behind these top four guys that we'll go to in a minute. Alex, I can give you leeway to talk about the rest of the report on him.
Yeah, so Dameon Pierce, 5'10", 220 out of Florida. Certainly an interesting player. He has good vision. He's a powerful runner, and he hits the holes hard that are given to him. And I'll save his best trait till last, but he really is a bruiser type of running back. In my comparison, I have him as like a Jamal Williams type guy, former Packer, now current Lions. But I think he has more upside than that. But similar types of players in the way they run, that's at least how I looked at it. Well, the cons about him, he's not exactly the most athletic. His speed isn't great. His shiftiness isn't great. He's no Saquon Barkley when it comes to, dodging defenders and getting around them. But what does make him really special is that he is an excellent pass protector. We saw that during the Senior Bowl and those one-on-ones, and it's usually like linebackers versus running backs in those blocking drills, and usually it's kind of like the running back's just there, to be there to block the linebacker. It's not it's advantage like 200% to the linebacker, but Dameon Pierce held his own like crazy there. So truly impressive for a guy who's only 5'10". And I think he's going to be very useful at the next level. Maybe he's not an RB1, but as a very good RB2, which is what the Giants are in the market for, I think he could be very, very good.
And as our honorable mention, we will still do the grading system here. If you remember, we did that for the quarterbacks. Again, you can go watch that video, from a week or so ago. Now, for the running backs, again, we're changing it up because it's a different position. We're going speed, strength, receiving, blocking, vision, and then we average that out. So for Dameon Pierce, starting it out, his NFL comparison, Jamal Williams. We have him graded as a late second-round pick in the NFL draft, and his grade gave him a 6.5 in speed, 8 in strength, 5 in receiving, 5 in blocking, and 7 vision, giving him a total of 5.8 for Dameon Pierce. Let's go to RB4 now, starting this countdown here to number 1. Isaiah Spiller, 6'1", 225 pounds, the junior out of Texas A&M. The first thing that I see with Isaiah Spiller is a con, unfortunately, and that is he lacks some speed compared to the other top 3 guys in this list who are not significantly, but definitely faster than he is. We see in the 60-yard sprints, right? He breaks through the opening defenders on the line, and he's almost there, and then the safeties and cornerbacks catch him around the 10, 15-yard line. So he cannot make it to the end zone on those 50, 60-yard plays, those running plays that these other guys can. That's something that comes to my mind. Some pros, though, he is very quick to the outside. He's a shifty back. And then also he's good on passing routes. Mainly curls is what he runs. And then, another con that I wrote down was ball security. In the 3 years, he's put the ball on the turf 8 times, fumbling. So, that's something to think about. Alex?
Yeah, he's an interesting prospect. I think I'm lower on him than most people. He's 6'1", 225, Texas A&M. Interestingly enough, the Giants just hired the Texas A&M running back coach, so that could be something that you look into with Isaiah Spiller. He is very shifty, considering the fact that he's not very quick, so that's very interesting. He does have good hands out of the backfield. He's a good receiver. But here's what I think about him that's just a little bit odd. He almost strikes me as a guy who always looks for the home run, despite not having home run speed. It's kind of like a wide receiver that always goes deep, despite the fact that they can never beat their man deep. It's odd. He doesn't really take the easy yards, despite the fact that due to his size, his speed, his athleticism, just taking the easy 5-6 yards would be beneficial and make him a very good back. I just find that odd, so he definitely needs to be coached up in that aspect. But that's something that I noticed that was always a bit weird when it came to Isaiah Spiller.
Going to his stats, he's 3 consistent years, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, rushing lots of yards, but not a lot of touchdowns. And that might have to do with his speed or the amount of targets that he gets in the red zone as a running back. In 2020, he had 188 attempts for 1,036 yards, 5.5 attempts per rush, or 5.5 average yards per rush, and he had 9 touchdowns compared to, in this past season, 2021, 179 rushes for 1,011 yards, 5.6 yards per rush on average, and then 6 touchdowns rushing the ball. His NFL comparison, Joe Mixon, his speed, we have as a 5. I also have the 40 times here for a few of these guys. I think all of them in the top 4. I have a 4.58 40-yard time. Strength, a 6. Receiving, 7. He primarily runs screens, wheels, and speed outs. Blocking, 4. Vision, 7. A total of a 5.8 for Isaiah Spiller out of Texas A&M. We move to running back number 3. He's actually a guy that we have, but he's not on a lot of top running back lists that I've seen. Kyren Williams out of Notre Dame, the sophomore, 5'9", 199 pounds. Alex, I guess I can give it to you to go through him. Had a really good rookie year in 2020. That's something I want to note. He was ranked the ACC Rookie of the Year, the ACC Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I guess just didn't follow up with as much hype as he got, his first big year.
With Kyren Williams, it's very interesting. 5'9", 199 pounds out of Notre Dame. He's very slim. He doesn't even seem like the build of a running back. I think this comparison is probably the most slam dunk comparison for me. He is Nyheim Hines, and it's just written all over him. And that's not a bad thing. Nyheim Hines is a very good player. I think he has a little bit more upside than him. I will say that he has good burst. I think he's a better runner out of the backfield than Hines is. He has a great initial burst and good lateral speed, so that's important too when getting to the outside. And I think he's a good route runner. Him and Spiller are definitely up there in terms of the best route runners in this class. I think his hands might be a bit better than Spiller, though. I will say that. And I'm a fan of Kyren Williams. I know he's one of those guys who kind of varies on a lot of people's draft boards, but I think as a solid number 2, behind, if you have that main, run and, drive and pound type of running back, such as a Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, etc., that he would really make a nice 1-2 punch. And his two cons, obviously, his size. He's just not built big enough. And in pass protection, he's just not good enough either, partially to do with his size as well.
Going on to his stats now, in his 2020 season, 211 rushes for 1,125 yards, 5.3 yards per rush, averaged out, 13 touchdowns there rushing. And then in 2021, 204 attempts for only 995 yards, so 5 yards away from an 1,000-yard rushing season, 4.9 yards per attempt, and then 14 touchdowns. So he's got a lot of touchdowns. That's something to note on. Again, I think Alex touched on most of his pros and cons, so I don't need to go through that. I don't need, to repeat, have any repetition here. So I guess we'll do NFL comparison, and then his comp is Nyheim Hines. You said that already. Okay, so there is repetition, I guess. We have him as a late second-round pick to early third-round pick. I don't know if you said that part, but I did. And then going to, his rating out of 10. Speed, an 8, 4.40, 40-yard dash time. Strength, a 6, receiving 6, blocking 4, and vision 7, averaging out to a 6.2 out of 10. So that's your running back number 3. Running back number 2, Breece Hall out of Iowa State, the junior, 6'1", 220. It's between these guys at 2 and 1. They kind of been mixed up. I've seen basically Breece Hall at number 2 most of the time, but could very well have this number 1 guy, creeping up to the second spot. And I've seen Breece Hall at number 1 on a few lists as well. I think I said 6'1", 220 already. I really like this guy when it comes to his speed and acceleration. He's very quick out of the backfield, no matter what, if he's in shotgun to the right or to the left of his of the quarterback, or if he's, right behind the quarterback and the quarterback's under center, taking the snap, and he's running a halfback dive, halfback stretch. I think he's really good at avoiding the defense. He knows what to do well, when to do what. If he sees a pile of guys in front of him, he'll try to move around them, get the extra few yards. I mean, the comparison isn't Saquon Barkley, but I see kind of some Saquon Barkley when it comes to avoiding the defense in there, the juke moves that he does to get around defenders. I don't know, like that's something that stood out to me.
Yeah, in terms of what I really like about Breece Hall, you mentioned his speed. He's 6'1", 220, yet he still has blistering speed. He's patient as well. He's got good vision. He's pretty decent he doesn't really pass protect often, but when he does, he's pretty solid, and he hits the holes that are open, and he has decent hands out of the backfield. One thing I would say about Breece Hall, the pretty much only con, is that his route running is just not up to scratch. And I think this comparison is another one that's like really hitting the nail on the head. A.J. Dillon for me. I think he's quicker than A.J. Dillon, but in terms of how he runs, I think he's a little bit similar. And once again, another really good back. But I think these top 2 guys have the potential to be real RB1s, whereas I don't think the other guys maybe do. Who knows? Last year, no one thought Elijah Mitchell would be an RB1, and he was this season. So you never know, but I think Breece Hall and our next player are definitely the 2 that could be potential RB1s at the NFL level.
And for Breece Hall, Alex, you mentioned pass protection, how he's pretty good in pass protection. He just doesn't have much experience out of Iowa State. So that's just something to keep in mind, that you would have to give him reps, in training camp or, whenever you can to get him ready for the NFL level, blocking in the backfield. Something else I want to mention here. He's only 20 years old heading into the NFL draft. A young, very young guy. I mean, most of the guys in this NFL draft are young. That happens, these are college players, but just something to note on there before going to his stats, which I will bring up now. He has 200 in his 2020 season, 279 attempts for 1,572 yards, 5.6 yards per carry, 21 touchdowns, and a very similar year this past season. 253 rushes for 1,472 yards, 5.8 yards per attempt, and 20 touchdowns. So he's up there. Both seasons plus 1,400 yards rushing. Both seasons plus 20, or I guess one more than 20 touchdowns there, having 21 in his sophomore season, and then had 20 in his junior year. Going to the grade, we have him as a second round. He could be anywhere in that mix, I feel like, in this NFL draft. And now the out of 10, what's his ranking? His speed is an 8, 4.39 40-yard time. Strength is 7, receiving 5, blocking 5, vision 7, which puts him at a 6.4 out of 10. And then, here he is, your RB1, Kenneth Walker, 5'10", 210 pounds, out of Michigan State, the junior. This guy, I mean, he's a running back number 1, so I'm going to say it. Unbelievable to watch. A really fun player. This, I know in the beginning of the video, or close to that point, when we were talking about Isaiah Spiller and saying in those 50, 60-yard sprints against the defense, they catch up to him. No one's catching up to Kenneth Walker in open space. When that guy, breaks it outside to the left or to the right or even through the middle, yeah, no one's catching him. That's an easy touchdown. And I think we saw that in many games this season. Yeah,
when you're looking at Kenneth Walker, he has that running back build. He has great balance. He has great quickness. He runs through defenders. He's not just a speedster. He has the strength. He has good vision. He has good hands out of the backfield. He's really like your all-around running back. In terms of his cons, he's not great in pass protection, and he just doesn't have a lot of experience running out of the backfield, and that's something you do have to take into account. But he definitely has the potential to be really good out of the backfield, kind of like someone like Tony Pollard, who I have as like a comp. Josh has another comp too that we'll go to, but Tony Pollard for me, he's like Kenneth Walker is a more high upside Tony Pollard. And you could kind of say the opposite with your comp, Josh, that he's like a lower level, that person when you get to him. But yeah, Kenneth Walker, great running back, and I think he's definitely the best in this class. He just pops when you watch him on tape.
Are you alluding to what I have down, that he only has one breakout season in college football?
I'm talking about your comp. You had Dalvin Cook. That's what I'm saying.
Comparison.
Yeah, when I was saying like my comparison's Tony Pollard, but I think he can be better than Tony Pollard. I think Kenneth Walker's kind of like I don't want to say Walmart Dalvin Cook, but that's rude, but
he could listen, he can become Dalvin Cook, or if he really works hard and does his best. I mean, I want to read my notes on him too. What I have here is just something to think about. He transferred from Wake Forest because he wasn't proud of what he was doing with the ball. So he only has one breakout season. So that's just something to think about. These other guys had consistent 1,000-yard seasons with like Breece Hall, like Kyren Williams, I think like Isaiah Spiller. Kenneth Walker, he might be RB1, but he only has one season with over 1,000 yards rushing. Sort of similar to, I'm completely forgetting his name, our top QB, Kenny Pickett out of Pitt, right? He also only had like one huge season, so something to think about. Both positions very similar there. The notes I have on here, again, transferred from Wake Forest after his sophomore year, only 21 years old, great vision and explosiveness. He didn't run many pass routes when I watched him, watching tape on him. When next to the QB on the left or right side in shotgun, he just mainly runs that direction towards the sideline on a pass play, literally meaning the QB and the running back is here, Kenneth Walker, right? When the ball is snapped, he's just running this way. He's just running this way, staying like literally in line with the quarterback. So he didn't run many passing routes. So that's something to know. I think I have a clip in there. I don't know if we're showing it right now, but I think I recorded something about that. And then Walker was awarded the Doak Walker honors a top running back in college football and the Walter Camp Player of the Year for the 2021 season. And that's given to the Collegiate American Football Player of the Year. Okay. Let's go to his stats now. And again, just this one season really was the big one. I don't think you want to hear when he had a 500-yard rushing season. Anyway, he had 264 carries for 1,646 yards, 6.2 yards per rush, and 18 touchdowns, right? So not as many touchdowns as someone like Breece Hall, and either, in 2 seasons like Breece Hall had 20-plus yard touchdowns. So or 20-plus touchdowns in 2 seasons. That's why Breece Hall can be number 1 in some cases. So anyway, we have him graded as a mid to late second-round pick like Hall. And then going to his grading system, speed an 8, mid 4.4s is estimated 40-yard dash time. I couldn't find like an actual time like the other guys. So that's his estimated 40-yard time. Strength is a 7, receiving is a 6, blocking is a 4, and vision is an 8, averaging out to a 6.6 overall. And Alex, I send it to you. We went through, again, successful, I guess 5-1, I'll say, with the honorable mention. Congrats, we did it. And your final thoughts?
Yeah, I'd say this running back class is interesting. You got many different types of running backs. So depending on what your team needs, there's definitely an option for you. I would say it's probably not as strong as the past couple seasons. Last year we had Najee. The year before we had Jonathan Taylor. We had Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't think you really have a Jonathan Taylor or Najee Harris type player, but I think Kenneth Walker is certainly close to being up there. But I'm excited to see where all these guys go. The combine, some of the numbers that they put up might change some things, could sneak someone like Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker into the first round if they perform at the combine in Indy in a few weeks. So that'll be interesting to see, and that could certainly change things in terms of these running backs.
And we'll actually get their real 40-yard times, and I don't have to estimate it out based on their, how fast they were going in 50 or 60-yard dashes actually in game. So I'm happy about that. We get their real combine stats, so that's good. Thank you so much for watching this video here on the Giant Take YouTube channel. Leave a comment. Let us know who your top running backs are for this 2022 draft class. You can also leave a like and subscribe so you can keep up with all the content here on the YouTube channel. You can also subscribe to our podcast, the Giant Take Podcast, everywhere you listen to your podcast. And that's about it. You can follow us on Twitter and TikTok at the Giant Take Pod, Instagram and Facebook at the Giant Take Podcast, Alex on Twitter at Anorian23. I'm on Twitter at JoshSolo29. I think those plugs are also in the description, so you can just click that show more button, and I think it shows you the description there. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.